Hi all! Today we are going to talk about algebra and some of its basic principles, and we will try to solve some very simple algebraic problems. So let's kick this off. So algebra is a word that comes from two Arabic words, algebra. The meaning of algebra is reunion of broken parts. So basically it combines different elements of mathematics to solve some problems. And what are those elements? These can be numbers, these can be letters, these can be symbols or operators. In very simple terms, it is a branch of mathematics in which letters, numbers, and symbols are used to solve problems. So in algebraic operators, we use the same operators that we use in arithmetic: plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Before discussing some of the other principles of algebra, we will try to solve one very simple practical problem so that we can get an appreciation of how algebra is used in everyday life to solve these problems. So let's say you go to a shop to buy a gift for yourself. Let's say the gift costs 30 rupees. You only have 100 rupees. You do not have 30 rupees. So you give 100 rupees to the shopkeeper. And the shopkeeper returns 70 rupees to you. Now, how can we solve this problem using algebra? In algebra, we can construct an equation like x plus 30 equals 100. And in this equation, 100 is the money that we are given to shopkeeper, 30 represents the cost of the gift, and x represents the money that the shopkeeper needs to return to us. And when we solve this equation, we get x equals 100 minus 30, x equals 70, meaning 70 rupees. So that's how we can use algebra in everyday life to solve some problem. And we will study more problems in the video at a later stage. And this equation can be written in different ways. Y plus 30 equals 100, and in this, y is the amount of money that the shopkeeper needs to return to you. A plus 30 equals 100, and again, a is the amount of money that the shopkeeper needs to return to you. Now, let's talk about algebraic terms, expressions, and equations to get an idea about how to construct an algebraic equation. Let's look at an example. 2x plus 3x equals 5x. This is an equation. And this equation is made up of terms and expressions. And in this equation, there are three terms: 2x, 3x, and 5x. So what is a term? A term can be a number, a term can be a letter, or a term can be a combination of number and letter. So in this equation, 2x, 3x, and 5x are the terms. So there are three terms in this equation. And then there are two expressions as well. An expression can be made up of a single term or can be a combination of multiple terms. So in this equation, we have two expressions. Expression 1, or the first expression, is 2x plus 3x. So this first expression is made up of two terms, 2x and 3x. And the second expression, 5x, is made up of a single term, 5x. So this equation has two expressions and three terms. And when we combine all of these, we get a single equation. An equation is a combination of two expressions combined by an equal to sign. So 2x plus 3x equals 5x. That's the equation, which is made up of two expressions. Let's look at another example. 3a plus 5a plus 6 equals 8a. So this is an equation, and this equation is made up of four terms: 3a, 5a, 6, and 8a. And this equation is made up of two expressions: 3a plus 5a plus 6, and the second expression is 8a. So keep this in mind while we are solving problems, because this helps in finding solutions to the algebraic problems. Now let's discuss some basic rules of algebra. When you see this 2y written in any algebraic equation, when you see numbers right next to letters, it means that that number is being multiplied by the letter. So 2y is the same as 2 multiplied by y. But because we don't want to write 2 multiplied by y every time we write an equation, we just write 2y. Similarly, 3a means 3 multiplied by a. Just keep this in mind. This helps in solving algebraic problems as well. Now let's talk about coefficients, variables, exponents, and constants. So let's look at this equation. 3a plus 5a plus 10 equals 2. So in this equation, we have coefficients, variables, and constants. So what is a coefficient? A coefficient is a number that is right next to a variable. A variable is a letter in an equation. So in this case, a is a variable and 3 is a coefficient. And in the next term, 5a, 5 is a coefficient and a is the variable. And then this equation has two constants as well, 10 and 2. So why 10 and 2 are constants and why they are not coefficients? They are not coefficients because they are not right next to a letter. If 10 was right next to a letter, if it was 10a, then 10 would have been a coefficient. But since there is no letter right next to 10, 10 is a constant. And the same goes for 2. It is not right next to a letter, so it is not a coefficient, it is a constant. So in this equation, there are two coefficients, 3 and 5, one variable a, and two constants, 10 and 2. Now let's look at another example to understand what an exponent is. In this equation, the first term is 5a squared. A is the variable, 5 is a coefficient, and the 2 on top of a is known as an exponent. That is the power of a. Let's look at another example. 3a plus 8 equals 2. In this example, the variable is a, the coefficient is 3, and the exponent of a is 1. And why it is 1? This is because when you don't see any number written on top of the variable, it is a given that the exponent of that variable is 1. You don't need to write 1. Now let's look at another example. 8a cubed plus 6 equals 9. In this equation, 8 is the coefficient, a is the variable, and the exponent of a is 3. So I hope you get the idea of how to know what the exponent of a variable is. Now let's talk about basic algebraic addition. In this example, there are two terms, 2x plus 3x. Can both of these be combined together? Can both of these terms be added? Yes. Why? Because both terms have a single variable, and that variable is x. So both of these terms can be added together. What about this example? 3a plus 5a. Can these two terms be added together? Yes, they can. Why? Because these two terms have a single variable a. And what about this? 3y plus 4y. Can these two terms be added together? Yes, they can, because again, they have a single variable, y. These are the answers to those to the previous problems. Now what about this? 2x plus 3y. We have two terms, and both of these terms have different variables. The first term has x as a variable. The second term has y as a variable. Can these two terms be combined? No, these two terms cannot be combined. In order for the two terms to be added together, the variable needs to be same. But in this case, we have two different variables. This is why these two terms cannot be combined. What about this example? 3a plus 5x. We have two terms with two different variables. Can these two terms be added? No, because we have two different variables. In the first term, the variable is a, and in the second term, the variable is x. What about this 3y plus 4x? Can these two terms be combined? No. Why? Because of the same reason. The two terms have different variables, which is why these two terms cannot be combined. So just keep that in mind while we are solving algebraic problems, as this will help. Same rules apply in algebraic subtraction as well. You can subtract the two terms as long as they have the same variable. So in this example, the first term is 3x, the second term is 2x. These two terms can be subtracted. 5a minus 2a, you can do the subtraction for this example as well, because both terms have the same variable, and the same goes for 7y minus 3y. Now what about this? 3x minus 2y. Can you subtract 2y from 3x? No, you cannot. Why? Because both terms have different variables. So similar to what we studied in algebraic addition, over here in algebraic subtraction, the same rule applies. If the two terms have different variables, you cannot subtract the terms. Same goes for 5a minus 3x. In the term 5a, the variable is a. In the term 3x, the variable is x. So you cannot subtract 3x from 5a. And the same goes for 4y minus 2x. Now let's quickly solve a very simple algebraic problem. Let's say we have an equation 2x plus 3x minus 10 equals 0. In this equation, the variable is x, and whenever there's a variable in an equation, you have to find the value of that variable. So in this equation, we will try to find the value of variable x. So 2x plus 3x can be added together because both terms have the same variable. So the answer for 2x plus 3x would be 5x. So we write the equation as 5x minus 10 equals 0. And in the next step, we take 10 to the right-hand side of equal to sign, and the equation becomes 5x equals 10. And then we divide 10 by 5 and we get the value of x. The value of x is 2. So this is how you solve simple algebraic problems. Let's look at another example. 5a minus 2a minus 9 equals 0. So in this equation, the variable is a, and we have to find the value of that variable. So the first two terms have a variable a, 5a and 2a. So these two terms can be subtracted. So you subtract 2a from 5a, you get the answer 3a. So we rewrite the equation as 3a minus 9 equals 0. And then we take 9 to the right hand side of equal to sign, and we rewrite the equation as 3a equals to 9. And then we divide 9 by 3 and we get a equals 3. So the value of a in this equation is 3. So there you go. This is how you solve simple algebraic problems. And we can also do a check to see whether the value we have calculated for a is the correct value or not. So let's do that. In the equation, let's replace a with the calculated value, which was 3. So the equation will now become 5 multiplied by 3 minus 2 multiplied by 3 minus 9. So let's solve this. 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. So the equation now becomes 15 minus 6 minus 9. 15 minus 6 is 9, and 9 minus 9 is 0. So now we see that the left-hand side of equation is 0, and the right-hand side of the original equation was 0. So if the left-hand side of the equation matches with the right-hand side of the equation, then the answer that you have calculated is correct, which in this case is a equals 3. So that's how you can do a quick check on the calculated value of the variable. In the next few videos, we will discuss slightly more complex algebraic problems, and we will also look at some practical applications of algebra and see how we can use algebraic equations to solve these practical problems. So there you go, folks. That was a quick lesson in algebra. Hope you've enjoyed it, hope you've learned something from it, and be sure to check the next videos. Bye!